All right, congratulations. If you are watching this video, either you fell asleep and it's still playing for some reason, or there's a reason that you're here. And that is today's topic, which is it's time to get out of keto. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So this would assume that you've already done it, or at least maybe you're researching the whole process just to decide if you're going to do this process, and that's okay too. Our goals are very simple today. It is how do you get out of keto with the best outcomes, because getting into keto can be very difficult for some people and you're doing it for a certain purpose. Well, guess what? Getting out of it is not that simple for some people, and you can actually ruin a lot of the benefits that you got in the first place if you don't do it properly. So this is kind of our finale of the course for now. Why are you getting out of keto? There's your question. If you did this for brain function, if you had some neurodegeneration type things, if you're older and you felt good on keto and you've done well mentally on keto, there's really not an argument why you would not stay in ketosis. Mild ketosis, people can stay in for their lifetime, especially as you get older and an older lifestyle, it becomes very easy to do that. But some reasons you might get out of ketosis. For me, I did a lot of experiments. I pushed my body very hard, and I kind of felt like I was stressing my kidneys out a little bit with the minerals and such. The one failure I didn't do a lot of blood work throughout. I was checking my ketone levels, but I wasn't doing full blood work. I just don't like needles and doing that all the time. But I just kind of felt that I needed to give myself a little bit of a break. And in my case, one of the purposes I did it was for neurocognition, which I felt good on. I learned a lot. I did about my metabolism, but I also had lost all of my COVID weight. I used to joke that I won the COVID challenge was I gained 19 pounds. But then, as we also realized, it's COVID-19. I was supposed to have lost 19 pounds, not gained it. I think I gained actually 25 pounds. Well, I lost all that weight, and it was no problem to lose. I did it in the 3 months that I did this keto, and I felt really good. I just felt it was time to get out of it, as well as this has been kind of an educational experience. Because I could not find certain questions, I actually went ahead and did the advanced keto training courses for certification for doctors, and I learned some from that. I also recognized that course had a lot of things that they don't answer. So again, that's the problem teaching. The most important thing I think for if you're a doctor watching this is everybody is biomechanically individual. Are there some similarities? Of course there are, but the way you treat every patient is going to be different. If you're a layperson, regular person who's done this, recognize just because this worked for your neighbor or I've said this doesn't mean that's for you. It depends on what your conditions are, and also let's say what medications you're on, what your lifestyle is, what your abilities are. This kind of stuff can be very, very difficult for parents with kids because they have certain meal plans and times, and keto is great if you don't have to deal with that, because if you're not hungry, you don't eat, and you don't have to plan a meal, you don't have to be around food, there's so many things that go into play as you have an expansive social family background or intimate background with people around you. So that all affects everything in this. But again, there's the question is, why are you getting out of keto in the first place? So these are the big possible outcomes, which I think are the most important takeaways I can give you for it. One would be just that simplicity of, if you do it wrong, you can make yourself worse. Listen to that again. If you do it wrong, you can make yourself worse. Or you can essentially lose all that you've strived for. So you spent all that time getting yourself into keto. You did keto. Let's say you balanced your blood sugar, your A1C levels come down. Let's say you lost all the weight you needed to. Let's say your hormones balanced. Let's say your neurocognition, your brain functions better. Those are all good things you got from keto. You don't want to lose that. You don't want to go back to that. If a person's a smoker and they quit smoking, why do you want to even smoke a cigarette and try to go down that road of getting off a cigarette again? It's that, or addiction, pick a drug. It's the same kind of concept. So that's really the thought process in this is, how do I do this the right way? How do I do this so that I'm going to keep all the benefits I got and I'm not going to lose anything? So here are some outcomes you can have. You can have resistance to it. Your body, when I got out of keto, again, I was cheating a lot at the end. I was doing high intense exercise. I was pushing my kidneys. I was doing a lot of things that were not smart to do, shall we say, but I was also documenting it for this purpose, just to learn from, to give people the understanding why. And again, just because this works for me, or this is how I did it, my goal is so that you don't have to do this. My goal is so that I learned this is why. The reason, yes, can you cheat and drink alcohol? Sure you can, but there's a purgatory and there's a case for that. And for some people, no, don't even try that. Other people, sure, go ahead and try it. Same thing with sugar. Same thing with whatever it is. Same thing with weight. Everybody's going to be different. So hopefully all these videos, you don't take away from this that, well, this worked for him, so that's why I'm going to do it. My goal is to educate on this is why this is the way it is, and that helps you to understand how to do your own thing, which again, I'll show it later. Tracking is, of course, keep that tracker going all the time, and that will help. But the resistance would be this. Your body, I thought actually, and again, ignorantly myself, I've been doing nutrition for 23 years. I have this, I've done the advanced keto course, and I was thinking, okay, time to go out of keto, it'll take me a few days. No, it didn't. It took me probably about 2 to 3 weeks. But during that time, I got accustomed to, hey, I can cheat, I can have a drink on the weekends. Well, guess what? When you do that, so let's say you eat really well for a couple days. Our metabolism does what we do most of the time. That's why you can cheat. That's why a person who eats very healthy can go out and eat 20 chicken wings and drink a pitcher of beer with his buddies at a thing. It's because his metabolism is based on, let's say, a bodybuilder type person. They can cheat sometimes because their metabolism is used to what they're used to. So if they do something wrong, the body's just like, oh, that's different, and it doesn't actually change. So in a resistance case, though, if you're keto adapted and you still do something like, oh, well, I'm still going to have some alcohol, well, guess what? Your body's going to turn those alcohol into ketones, and your body's not going to want to go to ketosis because it's going to think, oh, all those days of eating some carbs again and eating less fat, well, that was just temporary stuff. I'm going to stay in ketosis. So your cheating should change, kind of like getting into adapted keto state. You want to be really good, and you just want to get in the state and stay in it until your metabolism changes. Same thing getting out. Otherwise, you're going to run into resistance. Your body's not going to want to get out of the resistance, and that can be at a detriment for people because when you do that, you're going to want to cheat a little bit more. And that's one thing I fell into as I tried to get out of it. It was like, again, as I mentioned, my wife is Thai. She loves noodles and rice. And I just started eating way more carbs than I needed to eat just because I kind of was like, why am I still in keto? And the reality was I just kind of didn't recognize that thing that you're in an adaptive keto state. So it's a slow thing. So the best way to do it, if you're going to do it, is to just slowly get out of it and let your body do it naturally. So if it takes you 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, let that be. There's no reason you have to rush out of it unless there's some case of you really have pushed your kidneys too far or you've done something where you just need to get out of ketosis. And hopefully at that point, you're doing this with a doctor or someone who's qualified to supervise you in what's really going on with your body. So second big possible outcome is blood sugar issues. A lot of people who keto works very well for are people with blood sugar issues. Potentially minimal diabetes 2, non-medicated, pre-diabetes, insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome. All those situations are going to be people that did good with keto or should have done good with keto. They're going to lose weight. Their blood sugar is going to work better. You actually can regress your metabolic blood sugar state. So let's say you're pre-diabetes, you might actually come out of keto and be a little more insulin resistant. So you got to be a little careful with your sugar intake because you've actually kind of regressed or you've transitioned into a slightly different, I would argue it's a lesser problem with blood sugar. No different than if you're insulin resistant, you might come out of it a little bit of a hypoglycemic in a way, a little bit reactive hypoglycemia where suddenly, oh my gosh, I need to eat this morning when I've been used to only eating when I'm hungry. So those kind of things are going to change. You just need to monitor your blood sugar If you don't have diabetes and you're not testing your blood, you don't need to do it. I personally don't have that problem. I've never had issues with A1C. I didn't need to do it. I just felt it. And so that's kind of the thing. Again, recognize you're going to have some blood sugar changes. I would say once I came out of keto, I almost improved my blood sugar problems. But is my blood sugar perfectly normal? No. I mean, that's partly genetic. It is what it is. And again, I like to push my body and cheat just to learn. Weight. Huge, huge, huge thing here. If you did this to lose weight and you jump out of keto saying, oh, I'm out of keto, I can now go eat pizza and french fries and have bread and have all this stuff. First of all, gluten's bad for almost everybody out there. It's pro-inflammatory. Sugar is as well. So you're going to inflame yourself, you're going to throw out your hormones, and you're going to gain a lot of weight back. No matter what, you're probably going to gain a little bit of weight back anyway, just because when you introduce the sugars, it's going to change your microbiome again. You're going to probably gain a little bit back. So if you wanted to lose 30 pounds, you almost want to say, you know what, I'm going to lose 34, 35 pounds, and then slowly get a keto, and you're going to be at your ideal spot. I probably did similar. I probably was about 4 pounds below my goal, 5 pounds, and then I came up, and when I came out of it, again, I was playing around with this, but I maintained it perfectly fine. So I didn't gain it back. That's the big goal. You don't want to gain all of your weight back. When you lose a lot of weight, especially women, you're going to dump a lot of toxins and hormones in your bloodstream, and all of those are endocrine modulating things in a bad way. They're going to want to make you gain the weight back, those toxins. So you got to detox. So if you've now lost the weight, as you come out of keto, you really want to focus not on losing weight, you want to focus on maintaining a very good diet, and then also detoxing that toxicity that you've actually just put from your fat into your body, into your bloodstream, into your brain. And again, there's another nuance. Your brain is going to be pushing you. Your brain is going to want you to cheat. It's going to want to do things. You're not going to necessarily feel well. If you understand the why and the chemical, what's going on, it's so much easier not to do that. Final big one, of course, is going to be the mineral changes. So much salt is needed during keto, and minerals are a big deal. As you transition out of that, you're not going to need those minerals. You're not going to be dumping those minerals. So don't become, if you're someone with high blood pressure and you were in keto, I tend towards hypertension 1 kind of phase. Even 2 sometimes. When I was on keto, my blood pressure was great. On high minerals, high salt. If I were to have continued that kind of salt intake, my blood pressure would go way back through the roof and all that, and again, losing that. So that goes back to our original thing, is why are you doing it and what you need to do, but your mineral dumping is going to change, again, for the less. So if you did more salt, more minerals during your keto and you felt good on that, recognize that's going to need to tailor back to normal. Final thing, again, keep this key. You just want to keep doing your key that I've shown every time. That's going to be your telltale of what do you do, how do you do it. Looking back on it, am I maintaining my weight? Once you're out of keto, have you maintained your weight that whole time? Or for the next, let's say, month? That would be a key to me. If someone's creeping back up in their weight, or their blood pressure's creeping up, or their blood sugar's creeping up, or something else, the question is why? What are you doing now? Again, keeping that key, that's going to tell you everything you need to know in most cases, more than any doctor at all. I know the caveats, always ask your doctor, but when you have actual data and feedback, that's more important than any one blood test. That's more than any one blood pressure number. It's what's it doing? What's the ratio? What's going on? That's where you learn from, and then understanding the why. And the why, it's not in this podcast, but I have to mention it for this topic. When we get into things like the NEI cascade, which is the neuroendocrine immune cascade, your neurology affects your endocrine, which affects your immune. They all interrelate. So if you get sick, for some people that's going to throw off their endocrine system. Some people, their endocrine system, they're stressed out and they make a lot of endorphins. That's going to throw off their immune system or their brain. Or their brain's fatigued, they're not getting sleep, they're really stressed out. That's going to throw everything off. All those interrelate. That's where that tracker and tracking what you are is so important for figuring that out. And if you're using a practitioner, that's the stuff that helps us. I personally have had patients that are very frustrating over the years where we just can't figure it out, and I finally convince them, just do a diet, just do a journal for me. You know, put on a sheet, give me a 1 week, everything you've eaten, and it's amazing how the brain works. I can look at that sheet then, and it's so obvious, like, oh my gosh, you're eating all saturated fat. You're getting all your fat and protein from nuts. It's way too many nuts. You need to have more good oils. Or something, if you listen to what a person says they're eating, it's just not there. But when you look at the whole thing, you're like, wait, you didn't have fiber for 3 days and your problem's constipation. That's a big issue. So again, the world is not about carbohydrates, proteins, fats. That's a piece of it. It's also fiber. It's what's your microbiome, what's your blood sugar. All these things come into play. So this is going to be the end temporarily of the series with keto. I'm going to focus on my other topics I want to. Again, if you have questions, send me an email. Part of these videos are just from patients' feedback as they've done them, and I've recognized I need to tailor them. So hope you liked it, and thank you so much for watching.